Hello, welcome back to Making Money Manageable with Alan Dembski and Juliana Jansen from Buffalo First Wealth Management. Today, our topic comes from actually our intern that has been with us for about a year and a half or so, I think. So he mentioned to us a good question. It was mainly for himself, and we're like, oh man, we should make a video of that. Where should I put my first dollars as he's graduating and starting to get into the workforce? We've been having this conversation with him.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's actually a question that I've gotten a lot from some of our younger clients and children of clients that, where do I start? There's so many different options. And what we've talked about in other videos, and it's tried and true advice. One of the things that we really like to establish is to build an emergency fund. It's really important to invest for your retirement. It's really important to invest for the future, but you really, health savings accounts we've talked about, but you can't really beat having the flexibility of an emergency savings account if something comes up, because what you don't want to do is tap into a health savings account and use it for something other than health expenditures, or to tap into your retirement account
Yeah.
for an emergency. So that's like our number one recommendation for people.
Oh, absolutely. And then the question becomes once somebody does graduate, is paying down their student loans versus investing for retirement or just investing in itself. And that's where you really need to understand that cash flow too. If you don't have a handle on that cash flow and understand how your student loan payments are going to work, it's really going to hamper your saving for retirement or even saving in a non retirement account, because you might end up dipping into there and pulling it all out. And as most people know, the market goes up and down. So if I put in $1,000 today, it might not be $1,000 tomorrow or a year from now. So you got to understand that if I'm investing, it's got to be for the long term, because that dollar value isn't going to be there. And to your point of emergency accounts, if something does happen, my other savings and things like that might not be that same value.
Yeah, and that said, once you have that emergency cushion established, even with some of our clients that come in with some pretty hefty student loan debt, we still say it's worthwhile to start saving for your retirement, because of the long, especially when you're starting in your 20s, there's a long road ahead of that client. And starting to invest early can really compound, even though you're trying to work through some of the student debt. That's typically my advice,
Yeah,
that
for sure.
you can work with the amounts, but you definitely want to get started, because also it starts the muscle of saving too. And that's important in terms of your long term as well.
Mm-hmm.
The other question that comes up is, okay, I've decided that I do want to save for my retirement. Do I put it in traditional or do I put it in Roth? And everybody's situation is different, everybody's income is
Right.
different. But for the most part, what we recommend, usually when you're starting out your career, your income is on the lower side. So the tax benefit of putting it into a traditional Raw or a traditional IRA or traditional 401k is less than if your income is higher. So, in general, the rule of thumb that we like to use, and again, it's different for every
Right.
situation, but is that when you're young, put it into Roth, because then you're going to have 30, 40 years of growth, tax free growth. You're not going to get the tax benefit up front, but you're going to get all that growth over time, which can be really dramatic.
And as you're younger, Roth does offer a little bit of strategy for withdrawal if, God forbid, you need to, where a traditional doesn't. This isn't a traditional versus Roth conversation, but we're certainly having that. I just had that conversation with a young professional this morning of, you're owing money on your taxes. You might want to increase your 401k pre-tax just because of the heavy tax burden that he's experiencing today. But there's nothing wrong with opening one of each either, because you
Mm-hmm.
never know from year to year when I can flip back and forth between the two for tax purposes.
Depending on your income. And the
Absolutely.
other question that comes up, do I put it in my employer 401k or do I open up a separate IRA? And our advice for the most part is, often the employer will have a match. So say you put in 3%, they will match 3% or some portion thereof. You want to make sure that you're maxing out the match that you're getting for your employer. So our advice is always to make sure you're taking full advantage of the match. so that even if the plan isn't the greatest, if you're working for a small employer and maybe there might be some fees, it's still better to max out that match that you're getting from your employer.
Right. In the Secure Act 2.0, I know we didn't talk about this, but I'm going to throw it in anyways, allows employers, some of the big Fortune 500 companies do this for young professionals getting out into the workforce, is their match goes towards their student loans. So that's available to employers now as well, which if you're looking for a benefits package, that might be enticing to some as well. The other thing that we've seen is investing in life insurance products for retirement. Usually not the best use of life insurance, especially if you're younger. Having the conversation of why do I need life insurance when I'm young? I have no responsibilities. I don't have anything. You can make the argument, well, what happens if something premature happens to you? It would help cover final expenses. Well, if I'm investing and saving in other products, that money could be used for final expenses as well. And generally, life insurance is not for 98% of the people. I know you'll watch videos online, infinite banking and all that other stuff. 4% rate of return. Historically, the stock market has doubled that, if not more, depending on your portfolio throughout the lifetime of your earning years.
Yeah, and a lot of times we see people come in, they buy them when they're young. A friend is, in that business and selling, and they forget about them. They're making their payments, and next thing you know, 20 years have gone by, and they really haven't maximized
Right.
those funds that have been put in. And the other questions that we get, AI is definitely with us. Certainly, just regular old Google searches are with
Right.
us. Sometimes technology isn't always giving the best solution for your complete situation. And what we find is people plug things into technology, into AI, but if you don't know what information to give, you might not be getting the best answer. So we
Right.
definitely welcome questions. We get them all the time, and we're always happy to take calls, even if it's a quick question. And even if the person doesn't end up being a client, we're happy to start that conversation just to try to work through some of the clutter that's out there in terms of the decision
Mhm.
making.
And make sure you like, follow, and share our content. Leave us a comment if you agree, disagree, or want to add to the conversation. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.